Hi, everybody. So my name is Valerie Kromas, also known as Valkro or Digital Chai. I am a game designer for Artcraft Entertainment, and just a little bit of background about me. I am from a QA background. I had been in QA for about 5-6 years. Then I moved into design while I was working at King's Isle Entertainment. Got to work on Wizard 101, which was one of my favorite titles to work on. And after all that was said and done, I am here now working on things for Crowfall. So with that said, I just wanted to give you a little bit of a rundown of our inspiration, of our new cooking recipes, where some of these things came from, and then do a demonstration. And then after that, I'm going to open it up, try to address some of your questions. Stop moving so much. I fidget a lot. I'm sorry.
This is Pam. I'm off screen, but I'm here with Valkro. Before we get started, explain a little bit about the chicken ticker and why cooking and eating is important in Crowfall.
That is a very good question. So one of the dynamic attributes of our game is the chicken ticker, which is the hunger meter. After a while, your hunger meter goes down because you get hungry. So one of the reasons why we expanded the cooking recipes is so we could give you a little bit more flavor and also enhancing
flavor. I see what you did there.
I'm going to be using a lot of puns, and I'm unapologetic about my pun usage. So you're just going to have to deal with it. So yes, give you a little bit of flavor on the hunger ticker. Also, while also giving you some opportunity to explore some different buffs, we've included two different categories, which I will get into a little bit later. And so without further ado, I will just dive right in, give you a little bit of a rundown of where we came from with some of these recipes. I'm sorry if I fidget a lot. It's just how I am. I can't sit still ever. So this actually started back in the summer when a couple of us, our design intern, and some of our QA peeps were out to lunch, and we were just sitting around wondering, wouldn't it be cool if we had like cookies and mead and those kinds of recipes in our game? And so we had actually stubbed out a couple of recipes then, but we weren't quite ready to even build out the system. Once we were in a position to actually introduce plants into the game, that gave us the opportunity to really dive in and expand what we have as far as the cooking system goes, and just get into it. So some of the biggest influencers that I used to start getting these recipes in were Minecraft, Don't Starve, obviously World of Warcraft, but the one game that I really loved when it came to cooking systems was Breath of the Wild's cooking system, where you could just grab a whole bunch of different things. Sometimes you'd experiment and it'd come out really great. Other times you'd end up getting dubious food. So these games influenced the recipes that I came up with heavily. But since we have such a unique hunger ticker system and buff and power system, we needed something a little bit more customizable to our needs. So that's where I came up with, and I'm going to show you a fancy spreadsheet because designers love spreadsheets, some categories for our food. So the first is junk food, which is usually specialty recipes like chocolate bars, chocolate milk, cake. Cake is a big example of that. The other one is the survival basic. I'm sorry, let me backtrack a little bit about the junk food. So the whole junk food system was a give and take style. So kind of like junk food in itself. So you get that sugar high, but then you're going to crash later. With our survival basic, that's just the baseline items like the roasted produce, the meat tartare, and then we move on from that tier into the gratifying recipes, which I like to call them, which are a little bit heartier, a little bit better, a little bit more special. And then we move on to the hearty and satisfying, which is the mid-grade recipes like gnocchi, things like that. And then the absolute special and delicious stuff, which are like our meat marsala, which is got a really cool buff. And I'll just kind of flash some of the buffs that we've got listed out here. Don't worry about it, though. I'm going to post this on our forum so you guys can dig in, look at everything that we've got so far, and maybe come up with some more suggestions, maybe, that we might listen to.
Now, does it put you in a moral quandary, the fact that you're a vegetarian?
Very much so. So that is actually a good point. I am a vegetarian, and I think there's a lot of leaning towards trying to be a vegetarian, but also giving people an opportunity to really dig in and be a meat eater. Like a good example of that is our sandwiches recipe. You can either use meat or mushrooms. So without further ado, I'm going to show you a little bit of in-game stuff. The first is my wonderful inventory that's already full of lots of materials to cook with. And the first recipe I'm going to show you is the kebabs, because that is actually one of the wildcard recipes that I'm really quite proud of, that if you use different kinds of produce and different kinds of meat or mushroom, you're going to get a different kind of outcome. So we're going to go to their campfire cooking recipes, go to the kebab skewers, the kebabs. We're going to get our roasting stick in there. For the first one I'm going to just do straight up mushrooms because I like my vegetarian life.
Now, tell people where they can find these things that you're using to cook.
That is a very good question.
And like what skills or are there disciplines that they can use that would make it easier to find these things?
That's fair. So a lot of the recipes require materials that are only on a vendor at the moment, but I have a task assigned to myself to actually disperse those throughout different loot tables. So you have the option of just buying it or just going to look for it in the wild. A lot of them are based on meats that you scavenge from skinning. And then the other are the actual plants that you just run across throughout the world, pick up and add into your inventory, like the meat or like the mushrooms. Mushrooms are a perfect example of materials you'll find in the world. So if you look at my recipe, one thing that you can do here is you could switch out different produce types, like an apple, or if you just want to have 2 different kinds of mushrooms, you can do that. Going into the herbs and seasonings, that was one of the questions that was constant on the forums. Right now, the herbs and seasonings are just additives and they don't do anything, but we do have a plan to kind of make them function more like the weapon and hunger shard additives, where they do provide a slight enhancement to the actual recipe, but they're not always necessary. So I'm going to go ahead and just make my mushroom kebab. And if you notice, this guy will give me a plentiful harvest in wood by 1 for, I think it's 20 minutes. In fact, let's go ahead and munch on that real quick. Yep, 20 minutes, and I've got the dined buff on me. So that actually leads me into a different portion of the system. We have wined and dined, so you can actually have 2 buffs at the same time, which is like the beverage, which is the wine, and then or you can and you can do things like eat food. So you can have 2 buffs at the same time. So you've got the wined and dined aspect of it. So that was the kebab recipe. And one of the biggest things that everyone mentioned was inventory management space in our game is difficult. So I wanted to make sure that the outcome was more than 1, because that was a huge problem in some of our previous cooking recipes. So, and with the next push, once we're able to start pushing things, food should no longer have a cereal on it. So if I was to make another stack of mushroom kebabs, they should stack properly together here, unlike the way they're doing it now. Let's see. So we've got...
we have a question from Top Tier the Gamer. Do you think we will see cooking and recipes being added to the passive skills tree?
That is a good question. As far as I know, there are plans for it. And that actually does lead into the whole, how does survivalist cooking factor into things right now? It really doesn't. And we need to go back and reevaluate how our passive training and cooking can work together. Right now, the only blocks are the actual crafting stations. Okay, so I made my kebab skewers. Let's see. Let's do just one more with meat this time so you could see the different outcomes. So I'm going to use my roasting stick, some produce. We'll do a carrot this time. And then this time let's do some auroch meat and see what I get this time. All right, so this dined buff will increase my plentiful harvest or by 1. And there we go.
So Nornak1 wants to know, if food doesn't have a cereal, how does it have customized stats?
They don't have customized stats at the moment. One of the things that we'd like to do is actually include those customized stats with the herbs and seasoning in the future. So hopefully that will happen soon. That's a good question, though.
And the elusive manatee wants to know, would eating elkin as a human still be cannibalism?
That's a good question that someone as a vegetarian should probably not field, because I'm just going to honestly default to saying yes, that is cannibalistic. All right. So let's actually do some more of the more advanced recipes. I'm going to make a whole bunch of pasteurized milk so I can make some cheese and some butter. Pasteurized milk is one of our absolute staples. And this guy, raw milk, you can actually find on vendors and in loot tables on the auroch. So those are already populated throughout the world. So I'm gonna make about 50 pasteurized milk, just so I know where bases are covered. Just sitting here making game stuff.
Hyrule wants to know, will you include experimentation on foods in the future to customize stats or duration?
That is something that I would like to do. I'm hoping we can in the future. It's all really dependent on how much programming time we can get in the future on just expanding our current cooking sets. But that was a good question, and that is definitely something that I would love to see. And I'm going to make one more. Then we're going to make some butter and cheese. Some more staples food.
Yanni T20 wants to know, I want to know what zombie guts make. They make you sick.
Zombie guts make you sick. There's nothing worse than zombie gut sickness, which I could probably just eat it right now and it probably wouldn't be that good. Our current expanse of cooking recipes doesn't actually include zombie meat, but maybe in the future we might make some more zombie surprise. All right, so let's make some. What did I say I was going to make?
Milk.
Milk.
Making cheese.
Cheese. Let's make some cheese. All right. That's right. So we've got our pasteurized milk. See how it was nicely stacking too? That'll be fixed soon for y'all. And I apologize for that. That is painful, and I understand. So we got some cheese here. I'm going to make one more stack just to cover my bases. And one of the things that I liked about these recipes is if I wanted to, I could just eat this cheese as is, because it'll give me the harvesting critical chance with a +5 bonus, plus 5% bonus. But I want to kind of use it later in my grilled sandwich recipes.
Oh, we got a whole bunch of questions all at once. Onres wants to know, he says, I see an empty flask used, so that means alchemy is a sub-dependency for wildcraft cooking. Do you see any other professions being added to dependencies?
That is a good question. Immediate future, I'm probably going to be expanding a little bit more on the alchemy to kind of have some more intertwining with the cooking. But as far as I know, not quite yet on any other sub cooking or sub recipes. That makes sense.
And let's see. Will we see timers on food buffs in the top right of the screen? That's from Goliath Gaming.
Yes. In fact, did you want to see so in the upper right corner on my food buff, it's currently ticking down. So that's how long I have with my current hanging effect.
And then Hariel says, are there plans to include more public foods like the survival campfire that gives ticker to everybody?
Yes, actually, that is a good question. So this is don't think of all these recipes as just what we're going to do. Each update, we're going to do something different, add some more recipes. I would love to have party buffs as an option. Maybe some seasonal recipes, one-time use recipes, special food item drops, some more seasoning additives, and some more harvestables. So those are all ideas that we have cooking for cooking in the future.
I had a character in Ultima Online named Martha Stewart.
Did you really?
Yeah, and she made food and like made a fortune from selling fish steaks. And I would make like these little box picnic dinners, and I would see these like hardcore PvP like dreadlords coming by Martha's vendor to buy food, and they would buy those little picnic boxes. It had like a table and a roast pig and some candles.
That's amazing. And hopefully we'll be able to actually do something like that with our vendors. And that was one of the pillars of cooking that I tried to actually include. There aren't really much blocking you from accessing all the recipes other than the stations, but it's an optional path for recipes. So for the people who don't really care for it, you don't have to cook. But for the people who do, you could always throw it on vendors. You could always enhance things for people. And that was the idea behind our cooking this update. Okay, so we're going to get a water flask.
Dennis wants to know, will we be able to bulk craft basic items without throw-off factories? For example, add times 10 to the resources at once to get a times 10 result.
That is a good question that I don't really have an answer for. That might be more of a Blair question. But we're hoping that we'll get factories online soon, so to kind of alleviate the bulk problems that we've been seeing. So let's make a grilled sandwich. This is another one that uses wildcard recipes. We could use, me being a vegetarian, I'd prefer to have a mushroom sandwich, but to each their own. So let's make a, let's see. Ooh, that's right. You guys you're going to get a preview to what bear meat does because I don't think this is actually out in the world yet. So let's do that. Let's make some bear meat sandwiches. And some cooking foil. And let's see what this guy does. Whoa, increases disease armor bonus by 3%. That's actually pretty sweet. But let's make another one just so I can show you the difference between some of these recipes. In fact, let's do a mushroom sandwich.
Andrea wants to know, could some foods have different effects across races?
Ooh, that's a good idea. That's something I never even thought about, but I'm going to make a note to myself that might actually be a good idea.
That's a good suggestion, Andrea. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. That was not even within my peripheral. All right, so mushroom sandwich will actually increase your harvest critical amount by 1. All right, so I think you guys get the gist of it. I'm going to go ahead and try to actually stave off some of the initial feedback questions that we had before, and then I'm going to open it up to y'all to just toss some more questions this way. So one of the biggest questions was, why bother with cooking at all? Is the payoff and the effort really worth it? Short answer, yes. As a very wise crafter once said, it's better to have a stack of roasted apples in your inventory versus just the regular normal apples. So while some of the recipes might be a little bit difficult, the payoff really is worth it. So that was our idea there. Let me see. I think we already covered the seasonings. Okay. Another question that came up earlier, I think, but I'm just going to harp on again is, will food items like carrots, potatoes, coffee, and cocoa beans be seen outside of the vendor? And the plan is yes. Initially, it was kind of difficult to put these guys on loot tables because it doesn't really make sense to drop coffee beans off of a board. But with the next update, hopefully it'll make a little bit more sense. We'll be able to spread those guys throughout the world so you don't have to worry or rely just typically on the system vendors that we have out there. All right, so I think that's all I've got. Do you have any other questions for me?
Does anybody else have more questions for Valkro? Just while we're waiting for more Valkro questions to come in, I want to mention that the campaigns that are live right now will end tonight. I know that we've seen some questions in here about the campaigns and what's going to happen next. Todd is working on a write-up, and I will publish that later today. I can't give you an ETA for it. It just depends on how often he gets interrupted while he's trying to write that.
Which is pretty frequent.
Yeah, it happens quite a bit. Let's see.
Val has this pretty great picture right behind her desk that has her just hanging off of a cliff. And the note just says, waiting for Todd. Yes. And nothing is more appropriate than that, just because he's always getting tapped.
Okay, so this one's kind of long, so bear with me. This is from Arcade99. In 5.7, outpost campfires could be used for cooking. In 5.8, campfires have been changed from a radius buff to F to interact, and the outpost campfires no longer work. Will this be changed? Also, what is the plan for crafted campfires? They are currently not working as they don't display on the ground and can't be interacted with.
That's so that's a multi-part question.
Yeah.
The outpost campfires, that is actually a bug. We have a bug in on that, and we are going to allow you to use those for cooking. And I believe the buff still should function. If not, that is also a bug that I can look into. As far as the pocket campfires that you can make through survivalist crafting, I believe, those I don't think ever allowed you to cook, but I could be wrong. Let me dig into that a little bit more, and I will get back to you on the forums about that for sure.
Okay, Hyriel wants to know, can you add a cooking station to the temple soon, please?
Yes, that's another issue we have that is currently in the works. So, yes, that is coming.
And the Netherlands wants to know, will certain foods provide combat stat buffs?
Yes, certainly. Let me see if there's any that I can list off the top of my head right now. Let's see. I know one specific recipe will actually give you a chance to increase your elemental damage for 20 minutes. Yeah, that's right. It's spiced chocolate milk, which is what differentiates it from the basic chocolate milk, which is considered a junk food. But the spiced chocolate milk actually increases your elemental damage by 3%, and that is not considered junk food.
Tennis is asking if Todd still wants to add poisoned food. That's a Todd question.
That is a Todd question.
And he should be in his office writing that update for this afternoon.
So we'll bug him about that one later. But that was something that we could probably look into, maybe using zombie guts.
Coolster50 wants to know if there are any plans to have food buffs that prevent the loss of chicken tickers while under the wind or dined buff.
So something that actually maintains your metabolism, so you don't lose your chicken ticker quite as quickly. Yes, there are plans for that in the future.
Onrose asks if you would please make some carrot juice.
Ooh, carrot juice. You want me to make some right now?
No, you can make it later and just fax it to him. Yes, make it now.
Let's make some carrot juice. Look at that. Look at that. It increases your range distance bonus by 3 meters. That is huge. So let's actually, since I've got a dined buff, I'll show you that you can actually have multiple buffs on you. So there's my dined buff, and then there's my wined buff, which gives me my increased 3 meters in ranged attacks. All right.
Andrea wants to know if you can make golden apple juice.
Ooh, golden apple juice. You know what? I'm going to actually write that down, because that
Andrea got some great ideas.
She really does. I like it. So, that's a good idea. Golden apple juice. Maybe give you a little bit more of a buff or something. Yeah,
And Tennis says, will you please fix it? Well, he didn't say please. I said please. Some people are polite, Tennis. Some people say please and thank you. Will you fix it so we don't lose buffs on zoning?
Yes, that is a bug that we will actually try to look into. I can't promise you when it'll get fixed, but that is definitely a bug.
Andrew says you should be able to make golden apple pie, too.
That would be an awesome seasonal recipe.
Okay, we just got a few more minutes. Get those questions in for Valkro.
This has been fun. I was really worried and nervous that no one would find this interesting because not everyone geeks out over food like I do.
I geek out over food like you do.
I crafted all that stuff yesterday. It was pretty fun.
Yeah, did you have fun with it?
I loved it.
That's awesome. Yeah, I think it's really important that as a designer, you find some kind of passion in it. And then that actually relates and permeates into what you do. And I was very, very passionate about this. It was one of the first systems that I was able to take on and own. And I'm really, really happy with not only the reception, but all the ideas that you guys keep tossing. They're really, really good ideas.
Honor says, what about Mandrake?
Mandrake root is coming. I've got an idea for using that and a bear borscht recipe, since borscht is typically used with beets, but we don't have beets at the moment. But soon we will have mandrake root in not only cooking recipes, but also in alchemy. Soon.
Zombie Gandhi says, are you able to answer why kids love the taste of Cinnamon Toast Crunch? I don't eat any cereal, and like one of the most foul things to me in the world is the smell of cereal breath. So I can't tell you why anybody eats any kind of cereal.
Fabulous. If you have taste buds, then you know the answer to that question.
I mean, Cinnamon Toast Crunch is like eating cinnamon toast, but with milk.
Yeah.
Some people like milk. Some people like...
love it because they're smart.
And it's just covered in sugar. So there's that, too.
Top Tier the Gamer wants to know, will you be able to make alcohol and get a drunk debuff?
Yeah, you can actually make alcohol now. You can make wine, and you can also make mead. And in the future, I'm hoping to make some form of ale, and then maybe expand onto that. Maybe use potatoes to make some vodka to go with your borscht. Your borscht.
All right, we're going to wrap it up. This is the last couple of minutes. You got questions for Valkro. And I just want to say, this is your first live stream
This
ever,
is my first live stream.
I think you've done a great job, even with me over here sitting across the table from you.
No, it's actually helped.
Oh, good. See, some people think I'm hopeful. Coleman.
I think Pan is one of the best gifts to game development.
Oh, shucks. Thank you. Everybody's saying you did so well. Awesome live stream.
I hope it was fun for y'all. It was fun for me. It's a little nerve-wracking, not gonna lie. But I'm appreciative that you are...
Blair's out sick today, so we don't have to worry about incurring the wrath.
Yeah.
Okay, so here's a good question to end on. This is from Fog Knight. Speaking of wining and dining, are there any plans on aging casking items that can become more powerful over the season progression?
That is actually a really good idea.
The Vikings used to salt fish,
Or kind of like how you salt fish, or like you put a roasted pig underground and let that cook for, 12 hours? That's something that I would like to do. I can't promise that it'll happen, though, but it's an idea that we're tossing around.
And I seen somebody earlier asked if food will spoil.
That was another, right now they don't have a decay rate on them, but that's another idea we've been tossing around. Do we want food to spoil? Do we want it to kind of rot in your inventory? Something like that, we want to wait until inventory management is a little bit better, because I don't want you to sit there and make 10 sandwiches and then in 2 days you won't be able to use it or put it in a pantry or something for later.
That would make me so angry.
Right? So, as a gamer, I would hate that.
Like in The Sims, and I would make food and it would spoil. Damn, I was going to eat that.
Why? And it's got the flies on it and everything.
Oh, no, Tennis. The Icelandic fermented shark. Carl, that stuff is... It's not even the nastiest thing I've ever eaten. Their version of blood sausage, which is called slaughter, is the worst. But yeah, pea shark, no. We don't need any pea shark in Crowfall.
Maybe that'll go into our poisoned food category.
Let CCP have that. All right, that is it for today. So thank you, Valkro.
Thank y'all for being so nice and kind and receptive. It's always a little nerve-wracking putting yourself out there and putting your baby out there on the internet. But I think it all went all well. And thanks, Pan. Thanks, Gibson. Thanks, Emily, for moderating.
All right. And we will see y'all next time. I think this is our last live stream before the holiday. So have a good one, whatever you celebrate and whoever you celebrate it for. Like John Gibson is all about Krampus. And I'm all about Jesus. So I have the actual Christmas. But if you're Kwanzaa, Hanukkah, whatever.
I look forward to Boxing Day, personally.
Boxing Day instead, and Happy New Year. So I think we'll do some follow-up on the forum. So if you have questions for Valkro, be sure to join that discussion thread.
And I'll post all our current buffs and just the different categories we have, too, on our forum. So you guys have some kind of reference for them in the future.
All right, cool.
Cool. Thanks, y'all.
Bye.
Bye.